Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Support for Dubai Works is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched in the UAE with their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their exclusive offer for you. 20% off with the code DubaiWorks at manscaped.com.
Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. We're joined again this week by two co-founders from Exirio. On my left, we have David Martínez de Lecea, I think, and Piero Politeo.
Yes, very good.
Founders of Exirio. They are it's a one of a kind wealth tracking app. It's developed at the height of the pandemic, and it enables individuals to track and understand their investments and plan a life of financial freedom. So we're talking all things fintech. We're talking about the market, the competition, and plans for the future. So welcome both.
Thank you very much.
So David, I'll start with you. What is Exirio and how did it come about? David, sorry.
Well, Exirio, as you said, is a wealth tracking and investment app. It came about after many years of hearing all my expat friends, all those who have more money than I do, complaining about how come that in the 21st century I'm still tracking all this in a spreadsheet. Every month I have to go and update all my bank balance and my crypto and my stocks and my real estate. How come I need to do all this manually? There must be a better solution. And I always thought that it would happen, and it didn't happen. So after many years of hearing those complaints, just chatting with a friend, we thought, well, if it doesn't happen, let's make it happen.
Okay.
And that's what it is. We started with a prototype. I soon involved Piero because we've been colleagues in the finance and investments world for a number of years since we met in business school, and here we are now with a product that works.
Okay, and Piero, so tell us exactly what is the product and how would someone use it today?
Well, essentially it's a solution for somebody that wants to aggregate all their investments, whatever they may be, from stocks, funds, crypto, real estate, watches, rare wine, whatever it may be, to put it all in one place, to consolidate the view of what one owns, how it's performing, as a whole and individually, across currencies. That's actually one of the key features we focused on right from the start. It doesn't have to put everything in one single currency and let you choose that. It can break down the performance of any particular asset you own between the performance of the asset itself, as well as how the currency implications of having invested in a particular currency impact your wealth. So you go on the website, you can get a pretty good idea of what it does right from the start. You sign up or try a demo, and off you go.
Interesting. What does Exirio stand for? What does it mean?
It stands for an available domain with 3 syllables and a .com.
Brilliant.
That was it.
Amazing. 3 syllables, not 2 syllables. You went for 3.
I couldn't find a 2-syllable .com available.
Okay.
We wanted it to be .com, and that was it.
It's a cool name. It
I
works.
still have got the screenshot of the WhatsApp chat between the two of us. Like, would you like this name? Yeah, I like it. Oh, not available. Okay, yeah, I don't like it.
Isn't it amazing that, I love how you tell that story as well on the name, but isn't that how we come up? That's how entrepreneurs are these days. The brainstorming is WhatsApp. It's so dynamic. It's so fluid, and it reflects the world. It reflects the problem you're trying to solve in 2021. That we have to. We don't have this one place for our finances. I'll ask about fintech in the future, or fintech in a second. But just in general, technically, what roles do you play here? And technically. That all sounds great, but to get real-time data of investments, you must have access to people's bank accounts and different types of platforms. How does that work?
Okay, so in terms of how we split, I think we both are comfortable with general business, but I'm a bit of a geek, so I look after the technology, and he does pretty much everything else. And yes, the technical infrastructure is actually pretty complex because we need to allow that. We allow our users to enter all the information manually, but if they want to connect their bank accounts, their investment platforms, their crypto exchanges, the crypto wallets, there's a lot of work in the background, and that's where we spend most of the time developing. So we have a number of partners that connects us to investment platforms, a number of partners that connects us to crypto exchanges, and the idea is to allow the user to bring all the information as frictionless as possible, and it's definitely not easy. So we spend a lot of time working on that.
I would say it's frictionless as well as with as little manual input as possible. Obviously, if you clearly to put together a spreadsheet, which is what we aim at not using anymore, to put together a spreadsheet takes a lot of time to start with. It's tedious and time consuming to update it, but also to put it in place. So by connecting your accounts or creating a virtual portfolio, which you can do on Exirio, we try to minimize the effort that goes into it. Obviously, once you've put everything in there, the effort is reduced massively by having automatic updates. But we're trying to do that also on the input stage.
So calculating net worth and growing network and making strategic decisions on personal investments, I can understand how the anecdote that you explained of that people not having a solution for it, I can see how it works. However, how do you know it's enough? Are you getting questions around, well, what if I wanted to trade, or what if I wanted to do this, or what if I wanted to do that? Have you got enough feedback at this stage to know that it's enough for people?
We do get a lot of feedback. Those questions come up. It's just a bit early for us. At the moment, we're still making sure that what we've described works perfectly, and we still have a few things that we need to improve in the UX and make it easier and nicer. Because I said it's way more complex than what we thought it would be. In the future, there are a number of paths we might follow. Okay. One of them is allow people to trade or to move money across investments, but it's just too early for us.
Yeah, and sorry. Go ahead.
No.
And how did you, so we mentioned in the intro that it was a pandemic, sort of, it came about then. Was that just by coincidence? Had you been thinking about it before? Or were there circumstances that led to say this is the time to set this business up?
It was probably a coincidence, because I have been thinking this for a while, and it just happened in one of the slow days of being quarantined and talking to people on Zoom and saying, what are you doing? What are you
Working
doing?
From home, yeah.
Yeah. And then that's how it came up. So it's a bit of a coincidence. I don't think this would have been possible 5 years ago, because all those connections weren't mature enough. Even nowadays, not everything works the first time.
Okay.
So it's probably now the right time. In fact, we see it in the market. There are a few competitors that have just launched literally as we did a year ago.
Okay, interesting. And also Dubai, Piero and David, were you both working here, or did you choose to set the business up here?
We've been here for quite some time. So we, our paths crossed again in Dubai after we met all these many years ago at business school, as David mentioned. So we happen to be here, and it's a place that offers a lot of advantages. And so yeah, it wasn't a strategic decision to move to Dubai. We were here already.
Okay.
But this is a particular expat pain point, because every expat is going to have a bank account here, a bank account at home, an investment in a different country, 3 different currencies. So it is a problem that everybody has, but it is a problem that for expats it's exponentially more complicated.
Definitely. And also, people's perception of this region in terms of wealth is with family businesses, with people from the country, but there are recent reports that's saying that there's a lot of individuals now living in Dubai, both sort of new residents who've come in, and that's sort of who have a net worth of sort of $5 million or sort of thing, and it's becoming that type of a city. That seems like the perfect type of clientele for you. That's sort of male or female, between 25 and 45 or 50. That type, is that your customer profile?
Yes, we don't obviously how wealthy do you need to be for it to make sense to track your wealth?
Okay.
It's a difficult number to identify, because it's not really, I mean, if you've got $5 million in one property, you probably don't need a tool to track it. If you've got 400,000 across 15 different cryptocurrencies and 3 ETFs, 2 stocks, it's a different scenario. So it's really the complexity of a tracking exercise which justifies switching from a manual Excel-based tool to an app. So it's not really something, it's certainly not for high net worth or ultra high net worth. It's really for anyone who's got the need to track their wealth. However, the absolute number doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
David mentioned the expert angle, and this kind of goes back to the whole currency topic I touched upon earlier. Obviously, you can be, I don't know, French, based in France, and all your wealth is in euro. A wealth tracking tool is going to be beneficial to you, but most likely you don't have the need for all these currencies analysis tool. And expats, conversely, having been nomads and moved around different places, Dubai being one of them, being an expert center, tend to have this exposure to multiple currencies. So this is something that we tackled very early on. So main target being expats originally, with a complexity in the wealth structure that requires tracking rather than a minimum absolute number.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I was just trying to build a profile of potentially that this city is a good place with different types, but actually that's a good point as well. It's not just for saving. Can you explain as well around the trends of diversified portfolios? Like, obviously that's a phrase and people are always advised to have diversified portfolios, but with the onslaught of crypto and different type of investment vehicles and different types of things that you can invest in, is this a trend that you kind of saw coming and it's getting more and more complex? Is that how you've seen it?
Absolutely. The complexity is increasing. Even when people talk about a diversified portfolio, 10 years ago, you could have a diversified portfolio in one platform. You could have your broker with some stocks and bonds and maybe a house, you're done. But now the rise of the self-directed investor is right there. All the Robin Hoods and GameStops and crypto, and of course real estate and watches and wine, and it's just the complexity has increased so much.
Real art, digital art,
NFTs, whatever. If you want to invest in something, there's somebody willing to sell you something.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it's going to get any simpler.
No.
So absolutely.
Without Exirio.
We think this is that's what we're trying to help you with. Yeah, there's a clear trend for more complexity.
Yeah.
And as we were chatting before offline, most platforms, they just want to have all your money. All the investment platforms want to have all your money, so they want you to take all your diversified and say, just put money in mine. We don't care. Just whatever you have will help you track it.
Is there a comparison with another industry that you've seen this type of data that's useful in sport or in business?
It's an interesting question. I don't think I ever thought about it.
So it's definitely a unique solution that you've come up with. Okay, so basically, how did you? So did you need to raise funds? Where did you build the app, and what stage are you at?
So we haven't raised funds. I mean, we're at a very early stage. So this is funded entirely by David and myself. We've been extremely cost conscious, and we haven't really spent a huge amount of money so far. We will need to raise money at some point, but no, at the moment, it's just us.
And which free zone, or where did you set the business up?
Well, we haven't set that up yet.
Okay.
Again, we put the limited resources we have entirely in development. Well, up until now, almost exclusively in development. So corporate, when we didn't need visas because we were already sorted from that point of view.
Yeah.
So identifying a corporate, identified a specific free zone, spending money to create a company, the legals that go with it. Everything was going to require time and money that was better spent elsewhere.
On the product, yeah.
Now, of course, the moment in which we've got external investors, that doesn't quite fly. David and I go way back. We trust each other. We have a phantom shares agreement. It's all fine.
Explain what a phantom shares agreement
Well,
is.
it's essentially an
It's a
agreement
phrase.
where we say, okay, let's pretend there are shares.
Okay.
This is how many you have, and this is how many I have.
Yeah.
They're phantom shares because there's no company, so there's no shares.
Yeah.
But obviously, so it's not a matter of whether we're going to incorporate. It's when we're going to incorporate.
Okay.
Up until now, there was no need.
Yeah.
Up until the moment in which we fundraise.
Yeah, interesting. And speaking about the product, did you develop it here? Did you use freelancers? Did you work in Spain or Italy?
We've been super lucky. So we started working with some people I knew in India that worked with before, and then you finance. So now we have 6 people in India.
Yeah.
Then we got super lucky. We found a random person in Vietnam.
We found him randomly. It's not random.
Yeah.
He's not random. We found him randomly, and we love his work. So please join us. Then he brought someone else, and then again from another random chat, we found someone in Miami, and that's how we recruit, because we just don't have the power to go and say come and apply. So just by chance, we have an amazing team, fully distributed, no offices. Everybody works from whatever they want, and so far so good. But yes, at some point we need to grow up, incorporate, get an office, bring them here, and move to the next level.
Amazing. Again, it's another example of how business is done these days, and startups is done with finding people like that. Obviously, using the internet and platforms like that. So the people that you work with are product people, they're developers, they're coders, they're UX UI people and things like that.
Exactly.
All of that. Okay. Yeah, 6 backend developers, because I told you it's really heavy in infrastructure. 3 front-end developers, 1 UX designer that is changing our life recently.
Amazing.
All that.
Yeah. Okay. And so where are we now? You've got a nice website. Can you if I set up now, will you take fees from me? Can I pay you money, or is it working?
But if you want to, but no. So we started, and we still are, as a 100% free app. So unlike some competitors that have launched around about our time, we decided that until we do exactly what we say we want to do. And certainly until we have reached a stage of development we're satisfied with. I mean, there's lots of ifs and whens, but until that moment, it's for free, and the app will forever be free for first early adopters. So no matter how complicated it gets, no matter how we're going to monetize the app, those that joined at the beginning will be forever have it for free. So there's multiple ways to monetize this. We every now and again sit down and think about which one and what combination of venues could be meaningful, but it's not in the cards just yet.
Okay.
So yes, you can sign up and start tracking entirely for free.
So if I download the Exirio app on iOS, I'll be able to manually input some data, eventually connect with the different platforms, and then every time I want to check something on FTX or on Zaxo or on HSBC or on different areas plus personal investments, I will see it on a nice interface.
Yes. Now, on the development front, the ultimate obviously is so that any user that downloads the app and creates an account can find their exchange, their broker, their bank, wherever they are worldwide. Now, we're not quite there yet, and nor is anyone else, to be honest. So you're not 100% guaranteed that your bank or your broker, wherever that may be, is today an available connection. That's what we're aiming for. Until then, we have a solution, but not just until then. In parallel, we have a solution to allow you to track whatever it is that you hold with that broker with automatic price updates. So it's not a connection to that particular portfolio you hold with that broker, but it's a portfolio that you have created on Exirio with the components, and the valuation gets updated.
You're pulling public data from markets.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Well, and to be clear, right now, yes, you can open an account, you can put any stocks, you can put any crypto, all that will get updated automatically. And if you want to connect your financial institution, we already connect to 10,000 institutions, the biggest brokers in the world. And then you mentioned FTX. Crypto was working, and then, as happens in this world, Coinbase bought our vendor and stopped the service.
So we're now working on a replacement.
So
Interesting.
that should come next month again.
Yeah.
So next month you'll be able to do all the biggest brokers and all the exchanges.
Okay, amazing. So can we just talk about the fintech as a space? Do you consider yourself a fintech company? And firstly, I'll ask that.
Well,
I suppose we are.
I suppose we are. I mean, we try not to get too lost in fashions and ways and fintech, and try not to criticize or compete legacy versus no legacy. We have a mission that is to help people reach financial freedom, plan for their retirement, track their investments. That's what we do. From a category perspective, yes. And now that we are started talking to investors, and if fintech investors are probably our sweet spot.
Okay, when you say, I like that mission, when you say reach financial freedom, often we would hear that mission from people who are educating people about money and providing investment advice. Is that something that you would do?
Is that something that we want to contribute to in the future? How? Will we move into that space? Will we partner with someone? Will we sell investment advice? Will we distribute investment opportunities? There are many things that we want this business to go in the future. At the moment, we're starting with just the core thing, which is the app.
The first step before whether or not we're gonna, as David said, directly or with someone else, offer financial advice or asset management services, this remains to be seen. But the very first step in our mind is for you to get to that ultimate objective is, do you know what you have? No, most likely yes. Do you actually know? I mean, do you need, how many documents you need to pull out of whatever folder to find out exactly what it is that you have? So first of all, it's aggregation. Do you understand what you have? As in, is that making money? Is that making money more than that one? How do you compare the performances?
Okay.
I have a property in this country and I've got a portfolio somewhere else. Which one is performing better? I would bet that most people wouldn't be able to answer that question even with an Excel sheet. So first is aggregating your investments, and secondly is have those investments speak to you in very simple terms, with very simple metrics. So not giving you an enormous amount of data that is hard to decipher, but okay, so what is that performance? Is that good or not compared to what? So that's the first stage, is knowledge, understanding what you have and how it's going. Then if you don't know what you have or how it's working, you're not anywhere near financial independence or early retirement.
Interesting. Again, and the learning side is one way for financial freedom, but obviously being empowered to make decisions and to have access to data, make intuitive decisions yourself, and controlling your own wealth rather than trusting someone who's got targets to sell you something, that you can then reallocate your funds to better performing assets. And
because we've been in finance all this time, and we've been in personal finance and investment all this time, we get questions from friends every week. What do I do with my money? What do I do with my money? And the answer is always, I cannot tell you what you do with your money, because unless we start talking about your full wealth, what it is, what you need. So that's the only way of giving you an answer, even though I still cannot give you an answer because that's a regulated activity. I'm not allowed to do it, but I can describe and educate on how I would go about it. Everything starts from your total wealth and your plan and your needs. Impossible to do it otherwise. If somebody gives you an answer to where do I put my money, that person is selling you an investment product. Is not giving you financial advice.
Now, we try to more and more regularly now to provide through our blog to kind of educate. So not sell anything. We're not selling anything, but to understand what's out there, to kind of give the tools to people that don't have a financial background or are confused about all the options that are out there at the moment, to offer personal finance, a source of personal finance information. So what is an ETF? Why should I invest in this? Not in this stock, because that would be advice, financial advice would be, why should I consider this asset class as a possible source of diversification? What's the value of diversification? Should I not? Currencies, Should I jump in a particular currency? Why? What should I think about if I do it? So that's the level of education, which is not advice, it's more kind of bringing everybody up to speed, so to speak.
Interesting. Yeah, and because a lot of narrative around financial advice has been around for a while and doesn't necessarily suit the world we're living in today. You know, that like comparing different asset classes was fine when there was those certain asset classes, but now when you've so many other options, it's so fragmented now. There needs to be constant sort of narrative and information available.
Yeah, and on top of that, we are in a period where interest rates are so low that so many financial institutions that charge fees that could have been justified 15 years ago, 20 years ago, because, okay, whatever, my base return is 5%, I give 1.5 to an advisor. Now 1.5 is a lot. In absolute terms, and making 1.5 out of a fixed income portfolio, for example, is very hard without taking huge risks.
Okay.
So the whole fee structure that exists in the asset management industry is debatable, is discussable, because it's hard to justify some fees out there.
Okay, so that's a nice segue. So fair enough, but it is hard to justify some of the old ways of the financial world. Yet why are we sitting here today in 2021 with success stories in fintech, with the likes of Stripe and payment gateways, with the likes of Robinhood, with no fees? And why are all the incumbents still prevalent, and why are they all still there? How come fintech hasn't disrupted anything?
Because financial services is a very, very sticky business. People don't change bank accounts because it's a pain in the neck. It's just really, really hard, and it's gonna take a long time for all these new entities to disrupt everyone. And I'm not even sure that they need to be disrupted. It's okay to provide a better service and help them wake up. You've mentioned Robinhood; they came out with no fees, and then Charles Schwab and Interactive Brokers and E-Trade, they said, "Well, me too," and that's it. Now everyone in new reality for the legacy and the new players, there's no fees. So I don't think that in financial services, because of the stickiness and the regulation, it's going to be the case where the legacy players disappear tomorrow.
True, and that's okay. It doesn't need to disrupt. However, how come it's still a bit complicated? Why isn't it simpler in a world of the iPhone when other industries are a little bit simpler? Ordering food is simpler. Traveling and booking things is simpler. How come finance isn't simpler?
Regulation.
Okay.
Regulation is needed, is there for a reason, but in terms of innovation, it's actually helping the incumbents more than it's helping the new entrants. Because if you're an incumbent and you have a compliance department with 100 people, it's easy to follow all the rules and follow all the process. If you're a startup with 3 people, you just don't have the bandwidth for all that compliance.
Okay. What do you think, how can regulation help what you're doing?
Well, we're lucky because our activity is not a regulated activity, so now we don't need to worry about that at the moment. Having said that, there's already many initiatives in Dubai and Abu Dhabi for innovation licenses, innovation centers, sandboxes. I've been in fintech in the region for 5-6 years, and it has improved a lot. So we're actually quite grateful to the different institutions of the UAE because it is improving a lot. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we are on the right track.
Well, if you could solve one problem with regulation in the finance world, what's the biggest obstacle that's been faced at the moment? Like, what about obviously this kind of leads to crypto and the speed of transferring money, but the system of IBANs and moving money around the world and the time it takes, and then the intermediate banks and things like that. Like, how can that be changed?
I guess the problem is KYC, because you can't remove KYC. I get it. There's anti-money laundering issues, but KYC, it gets really complicated. We were paying this Vietnamese developer, trying to pay him $100.
Yeah, exactly, $100, and there was delayed by a week because like, okay, paperwork required to justify a payment of $100 to Vietnam.
In the meantime, we have another developer in Vietnam that we pay with Bitcoin. So when we pay, it takes 10 minutes. The bank takes 10 days. And I understand the bank needs to do this KYC and compliance. Yeah. I get it. We're not saying they don't have to. It's just what it is. With Bitcoin, there's just no such thing. So there must be some place in between where, where we can get the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Well, I guess there are different ways, and some people do different types of money transfers, and there's different platforms that have done that. But as you said, it's still slow, and it slows business down, right? Like, it makes it frustrating. He's not being paid. It slows down productivity. So is that one thing that you... But to that point, then they are the incumbent ones, right? And they're the ones... How are they going to disrupt themselves?
Well, at the moment, they don't have to. But also, I'm not sure they can, because they do have to follow those regulations. A bank here needs to follow central bank regulations, and they say you have to do this KYC, and when they flag a transaction to Vietnam, they need to track it. It's a perfectly legit.
Yeah, and it's for good reason that they need to do it, of course.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
How to say?
Okay. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about crypto and this world. How do you personally view it, working in finance for so long? But if you were to explain it,
I think it very differently.
Okay,
if it's working in finance for so long, is your answer?
Well,
the traditional answer.
Well, I hold. How can I say it in a respectful way? You
don't believe in it?
No, I don't believe in it very much. In cryptocurrencies. I'm not talking about blockchain. I'm talking about the bitcoins of this world. So, do I have a portfolio of cryptocurrencies? Yes. Why? FOMO. That's basically what it is. And I think there's a lot of people out there. And I could pretend that's not the reason, but that is the reason. And right now, I'm very grateful for my fear of missing out, given where, I mean, Bitcoin it looks like it's going back to its highest levels. You asked me 3 months ago, and I was like, why did I do it? I don't have this conviction into, I've got, an economics background. So what is a currency, and